Hello my friends, and welcome to a new Kerbal Space Program video. And my challenge submission, as you can see here, is the challenge for which I am submitting this video. Building a space plane with less than 40 tons. As you can see here, we are slightly above 30 tons, and leaving now the sphere of influence of Kerbin and returning back and landing safely on Kerbin as the hard mode challenge. However, I decided to slap on a little bit more, and I decided to go to Minmus on the way back and land, of course. I think just because of from the Delta V that we had remaining, in the end, going to the moon would have been possible, but I wasn't too sure of myself, so I decided to go for Minmus. I still hope this will be a super mode. If not, I might try going to the moon and redo the video just for the moon. However, this will be something for later. Yes, anyway, so let's jump right into the video. Pretty standard approach here in taking off. 20 kilometers. Accelerating as much as we can in the horizontal plane. Oh, and by the way, for my regular viewers, you can see that we have some new engine particle effects, and that's because I have added a new mod, and that being Real Plume. And except from that, all the other mods are the same as I have used in previous videos, that being kind of Kerbal Engineer Redux, Scatter, Environmental Visual Enhancement thingy, Distant Objects, Camera Tools, and Kerbal Alarm Clock. Okay. Now here a nice cut so that until apoapsis, but the burn, as you can see here, is still completely shown. Now we have after we've reached orbit and zone, starting our escape burns towards, well, not towards, but out of the sphere of influence of Kerbin. We went for multiple passes here in order to maximize efficiency and the O-berth effect that we are burning at periapsis. And I think this is actually the last burn. Yes, there we go. Here we leave the sphere of influence of Kerbin, but somehow the trajectory decided to screw us, and I had to do a small burn again. Now fast forwarding to the re-entry kind of the burn, so that we have again a encounter with Kerbin. Now entering again the sphere of influence of Kerbin, fiddling around with maneuver nodes, thinking about what would be the best approach in getting into the same orbital plane as Minmus. So, but in the end I decided, you know what, let's just first slow down with a 50 kilometer periapsis in the atmosphere and slow ourselves down. Here we are at re-entry, and this went actually way better than expected. As you can see here, our apoapsis dropped way below the orbital line of Minmus, even between the moon and Minmus. So here we have to create a new maneuver node where we accelerate actually, so that's quite wasting some fuel. But we do have around 3,000 meters per second left, so no big deal. So we burn again so that we have a nice Minmus encounter. Time accelerating forward so that we reach the small minty moon, slowing down here. Not really the most efficient way, but I was a little bit not really careful with my time accelerating buttons. Now fast forwarding to the periapsis part, of where we're just slowing down, so adjusting a little bit our orbit here. Oh no, yeah, and now we're going to slow down for a nice landing, which, well, I was just sick of waiting until we are at a good landing position. And now falling down, not really slowing down our descent, because we still have a lot of oxidizers, so we can use the more powerful Rapier engines for the last bit of the the burn, and using up our oxidizer, you can see here, because the thrust to weight ratio is a lot better. I think it's like each engine produces triple the amount of thrust of the nuclear one, so we've got 6 times the thrust with compared to the nuclear one. Even the touchdown we're doing with the Rapier engines, just because using, well, 2 reasons. First of all, using up the excess oxidizer, and secondly, it is a little bit kind of well, not easier. Yeah, well, I just felt like doing it actually. And because we're not at the best position to land, I decided to try landing on the engines actually, so on the back, which as you can see here worked perfectly, and taking a screenshot as proof, of course. Now allowing our Kerbal to go on our EVA and planning our flag as always, so that we have marked this landing spot. Now going back into the cockpit, having a quick look where we are, and now starting our engines, all engines on, and a nice lift off. There we go. With the camera tool looking beautifully, flying off into space. And with this we are starting our journey back to, well, we have used up all the oxidizer first of all, now we are back on our way to Kerbin. Now only going to use the nuclear engine, of course, since we don't have any oxidizers for the Rapiers. Anyways, and just because we accidentally got a moon encounter, we're gonna go and visit the moon. Just a flyby though. How 2000 meters per second, since getting down to the moon only costs I think around 800, so we would have enough to get down and get back, but I just didn't feel really comfortable in doing that. That's why I didn't do it. However, a nice flyby the moon is always appreciated, and it will also reduce our orbital velocity in a gravity assist. Well, I don't know whether you can call this a gravity assist. And by the way, which I something I haven't mentioned yet is that before leaving Minmus, I actually thought about doing a flyby of the moon just for giggles, and accidentally the trajectory really crossed, and this was a nice coincidence there. So now we're gonna go for a again 50-kilometer periapsis, since we went earlier with the same height and there were no issues whatsoever. So we go for our first aero braking path, reducing our periapsis, doing some really brutal braking maneuvers to reduce a lot of our orbital velocity. Now I'm accelerating again, I think. Yes, but first we're going to reduce our periapsis down to 40 kilometers, so 10 kilometers deeper down into the atmosphere, diving deeper down, doing some more of the evasive, the slowing down maneuvers here to get our periapsis even further down. Now I decided to pump some fuel to make the craft more stable, so that the center of mass is the further up front. Yeah. Now going in for the third pass here without really changing anything except our angle of attack, which was now really negative, so that our periapsis actually went down quite a lot. And since I didn't have anything to do in the meantime, I decided to pump the fuel, as I said earlier, again in the forward tanks in order to move the center of mass in more towards the front. And now, just as a funny side note, we are passing over the KSC. As you can see on the map, it is on the left side, well, from our perspective, slightly on the left. We can even see the marker of our ship, which is stationed right in front of the coast of the KSC. Now after that, I decided to do a small burn in order to keep our periapsis above the atmosphere, since we are not coming in for landing on the KSC at the moment, and I do really want to land at the KSC. So here, that's the same, well, because of the same reason, we're doing now a inclination change, so that we are on an equatorial orbit, so that we are really passing above the KSC. Now the last burn on the periapsis in order to reduce the height of our periapsis, so that we are in a really low 70 kilometers orbit. Now, because the time acceleration in low Kerbin orbit is only very slow, I decided to do a cut where I kind of just time warped until the KSC is in daylight. As you can see, well, in daylight, it's just morning at the KSC, and so here we have our approach going into the atmosphere above the desert, as I mentioned in my how to land this SSTO video. You should try aiming for the desert when you are when you want to land at the KSC, and somehow I kind of one button stopped working, and that's why there was this slight confusion there with the camera tool. Really weird. Anyways, now back into the re-entry. We're just flying towards the sun, having a nice experience in re-entry heating, but thanks to the aerodynamic properties of our craft, we were able to further increase the distance we were able to glide, with the help of our wings, of course. And in the end, this was actually a little bit too much of the good, so that we had to point downwards in order to reduce our lift, or point downwards, so that we actually will be able to land at the KSC, which is, as you can see, right more or less in front of us, and we have already the marker of the ship again more or less in front of us, which we have actually targeted at the moment to make the last part a bit easier and to find the location. Now doing some spinning around to slow down here, a nice and beautiful shot of the camera tool where we can see how we approach the KSC. Here a second time flying towards the KSC at a very steep angle, because I actually forgot to auto strut the wings, which I usually do because of high G maneuvers. I was really careful in pulling up so that the wings do not fall off, but as you can see here, there was no issue whatsoever. Now right at the coast we do a small loop, but I just forgot the name, how this maneuver is called, where you do a half a loop and kind of turn around 180. Anyways, now coming in for landing, activated the engines just to be sure that we won't stall out and crash into the ground, which would be really disappointing on the last few meters here before touching down, so just make sure. But it would have been possible probably without the help of the engines as well. Activating a parachute and brakes are on, and here we are at a safe touchdown and a safe stop at the runway. So challenge completed, I think, and I thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you liked the video, and until next time, Spaceship signing out. Enjoy the rest of your day.